Let's talk about these exit polls. I was going through the exit polls from the election, and there were just some interesting things that I was like, I want to talk about that because some of these polls were enlightening. Now, to be clear, these are exit polls. This is not, this is not exact data from the election. All right. These are exit polls. Not everybody was polled. This didn't happen in every single state. So you got to take things with a little grain of salt, okay? But it does give us a picture of what the electorate is thinking and how they're feeling. This was an interesting one. Religion among white voters. Actually, let's talk about both religion in general and religion among white voters. So one thing that I notice is that out of all of the groups of religions, they talked about Protestants and Christians, Catholics, Jewish people, something else, and none. Folks who identified themselves as having no religion, 71%. Voted for Kamala Harris. And it seems that all the other religions voted in favor of Donald Trump, except for 59% who identified themselves as something else. Oh, and 78% of Jewish people, which sadly only made up 2% of the electorate. But I think it's so interesting that people who don't identify as religious overwhelmingly voted blue. What does that say about religion? What does that say about how religion lines up with people's motivations and people's actions? It's interesting, right? You would think religious people would be the people who are looking out for the collective, but apparently not. Race. 64% of non-white voters voted for the blue ticket. And I thought that was so interesting because Black people voted, who would be part of that non-white, right? Black people collectively voted 85% in favor of the Democrats. So when Black people join forces with other non-white people, AKA the IPOC and BIPOC, we lose power by a factor of about 15%. Sorry, 20%. 21. Ain't that some shit? We Black people lose political power when we line up with other non-white people. Niggas, what y'all think about that? What y'all think? Did you know? I mean, isn't that something? So when we try to tie our fates in with other people who should obviously be aligned with us and allied with us, when we try to intertwine our fate with people of color, we lose, Black people. The proof is in the pudding. We have the numbers to back it up. We lose political power by a factor of 21%. We already knew this, right, Black people? We already knew this. We already knew that motherfuckers weren't checking for us. But I want the IPOC people to hear this. So that the next time that you want to get up in Black people's comments and Black people's faces talking about we got to stick together. We all face discrimination. We all face racism. You guys need to fight for our causes. Remember that when we Black people align ourselves with you, we lose by a factor of 21% our political power. So keep that BIPOC over there. We just gonna be black. And we just gonna look out for our black ass interests. Education by race. This was really interesting because white college graduates versus white non-college graduates, there is a 20% point difference in favor of Republicans for white non-college graduates. So white college graduates, 52% voted blue. By comparison, their non-college graduate counterparts, 32% voted blue. So with a college education, the likelihood of you voting blue goes up by 20% when it comes to white people. Now let's take a look at non-white college graduates versus non-white non-college graduates. Non-white college graduates, 65% voted blue. Non-white non-college graduates, 64% voted blue. So what this tells me is it doesn't matter if you're an educated BIPOC person, if you're an educated non-white person, or you're a non-educated non-white person, you still know what the fuck time it is. There's no deviation for us. Isn't that something? And yet there's a 20% deviation for white people. Ain't that something? Queer gang, 86% of gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender people came out for Kamala. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all knowing what time it was. Shout out to y'all for not collectively voting against your own interests. Here's another question that was asked. Should most undocumented immigrants in the U.S. be offered a chance to apply for legal status or deported to the countries they came from?